Well, hey everyone, good morning. I am Brian and welcome to my new channel, Gear and Gadget Reviews. Today, we're going to be going over a 12-volt cooler, this Autoommo 45-quart car refrigerator cooler, however you want to put it. So I'm going to get right into it, guys, and the format that I'm going to be using for these reviews is just cut to the chase. Eliminate all the fluff, which is what I'm doing right now. And with that, let's get right into it, guys. So this is from Autoommo. I hope I'm saying that right, but it is a 45-quart, 12-volt car refrigerator. And this was sent to me by Autoommo to do a product review, and I told them I would take it if, you know, the review would be completely honest. And that's what I'm really trying to do for you guys here, because you might be in the same boat I was and wondering which of these coolers is a good cooler. So there's a lot of these on the market, okay? You've got your basic entry level, your kind of mid-level, and then your top tier, real expensive Iceco, Dometic type coolers that are in the thousands of dollars. This is kind of right in the middle, maybe a little bit below the middle. I think this is around $300 to $400, I believe. I'll post a link below. The price kind of fluctuates, but this is not the top tier and it's not the bottom tier. It's a pretty good little cooler. I've tested it out inside, but overall, for all the 12-volt coolers that I have, this one is on the heavier side, which is a good thing, I think. You know, it shows that there's quality materials being made in this, or at least heavier duty materials, okay? So just real quick, in case you're needing to know how big this is, the top is, we're looking at 22.5 inches wide. Let's go 15 inches front to back. Let's go 15 inches to be safe as well, from bottom to top, okay? And a nice latch up here up front. And this is technically a cooler and freezer. The smaller portion up top, right here, is technically your cooler, not your freezer. This is the big freezer part. You can use it that way, but I think most of us that buy these things are gonna be using this to keep beer cold or, you know, our food fresh for a couple of days, and we're gonna have to use the big compartment in here. That's, you know, when I use these camping, I use both compartments, and I don't worry about freezing anything. I'm not trying to make popsicles while I'm camping, so you know, you can use it as you want. But just to give you guys an idea, the big main compartment down here, 11.5 inches, 12.5 inches, 10 inches deep. And the smaller section over here is 6 inches by 10.5 to 11 inches and 4 inches deep. So it doesn't go all the way down because the compressor sits underneath this shelf right here. It's got a little LED light here in the back, so when you open up the lid, it lights up the cooler so you can see inside it, which is nice on those dark nights when you're out camping. So that actually really does help. What it comes with, you get the cooler, charging cord for your 12-volt power supply, and you also get your AC power supply if you're going to plug it into you know, your standard AC. And let me get this plugged in and I'll show you the user interface on the side. So right now I'm just going to use AC, but at the end of this video I'm going to go ahead and kind of do two tests. I'm going to plug in my to-go power that I just did a review on, and we're going to do a runtime test on that. Okay, so I've got the AC brick plugged in. We are turned on. Turn this thing on, and it's just a touch screen. There's not really buttons, so it's very light. So you touch it. Okay, so this has two modes. It's got economy mode and max mode. Economy mode is what I would use if I would be using a power station, like a battery that we all have for camping. Or max mode when you plug it into shore power, or when you plug it into, you know, your house. And the difference is, economy mode, it doesn't rush that, it doesn't work that compressor as hard to rush cool the cooler. It kind of does it gradually and slower. Max mode, it's going to put all the power into that compressor and cool it down a lot faster. Now, to change it between economy mode and your max mode, you're going to press the set button and hit the up or down button. So right now it's in economy. The HH is the max mode. I don't know why they label it HH, but that is max mode. So I'm going to keep it in economy mode because I'm going to be plugging this into my battery, but that's how you change between economy and max. This thing also has a low battery discharge protection mode. It's got low, medium, and high. And what that means is a lot of these power supplies that we use to plug it into, like our batteries, this will analyze the power in that battery, and it will not let that battery drain too low. It's really a safety feature used to not drain your car. If you're going to plug this into your car, it won't let that battery drain all the way. So I typically put these, because most of these coolers have a low, medium, and high battery voltage protection, typically keep this on low. So to do that, I press and hold set, and then I press the set again, and it's on low. And you can change between low and high and medium using these arrow and up buttons, arrow up and down buttons. But again, I'm gonna keep mine on low for the battery protection voltage discharge thing. So I have mine right now set on economy, low. So that's basically all of the settings that you have to tweak when you get these things. Now to change the temperature, it's as simple as hitting the up or down button. So again, right now the interior temperature of this thing is 71 degrees. If I want to set this thing to, let's set it at 30 degrees. So you just set it and it blinks for a little bit, and then it goes back to what the internal temperature is. There's no lock on this, which I do kind of miss. You can't lock in the temperature, so if you're moving this around, just be careful that if you hit these buttons, it could possibly change the temperature setting. This cooler is gonna cool down to 30 degrees, and this is gonna tell you again what the temperature is. Okay, so let's have a fun little experiment, and I'm gonna try to make this as real as possible for how we are gonna use this cooler. And right now, it is not too hot outside. It is 68 degrees outside. I'm gonna put this little refrigerator thermometer in the cooler. We're gonna be using these things for mainly beer, right? So let's see how many beers we can fit in here. I got 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, 16. So I can fit 16 cans on one layer down here with ease. And you can even go a double stack. I just don't have this many cans here. But you can fit at least 30 cans, 30 12-ounce cans in here and still have room for ice. I'm gonna stick this thermometer in here so we can, make sure this thing's being honest with us. I'm just gonna stick it in right here. I'm gonna shut this thing. We're gonna latch it down, and that's step 1 of this little test on this cooler. What I'm also gonna do though, folks, is I'm gonna turn this around so we can get a better view of it. Step 2, I reviewed this to Go Power Advanced 350 a couple days ago. I'm going to unplug this cooler from shore power, or home electric, and I'm going to use this battery to power this thing. So this is gonna function as 2 tests. How long will this power this cooler, and how cold will this cooler get in real world conditions? It's supposed to get up to about 80 degrees today, and this is out in my garage, so this is not in a climate controlled environment. I'm going to plug in, click DC power, that turns on. And again, let's make sure that we set this thing to 30 degrees. So it's flashing 30 degrees. It's gonna go back up to what the internal temperature is, which right now it's showing 60 degrees. It's probably gonna fluctuate a little bit. It's set for 30 degrees. You can see that to-go power right now is running. Okay, so I'm gonna come back and check on this thing every couple hours to see how we're doing and take a temperature reading inside here to see how well this thing is cooling down. Now with this thing, I can hear the compressor running. We are pulling 35 watts. And this is telling me right now that if this were to maintain 35 watts, I would get 9 hours of runtime. There's gonna be some times where this is not gonna pull any watts. So that's gonna save this battery. So guys, I'm gonna keep this right here. I'm gonna keep the camera right there, and I'm gonna come check back every few hours. And again, just to make this thing as fair as I can, I'm gonna show you guys what time it is right now. Okay, so it is 8:45 a.m. Come on, there we go. So I'm gonna come check on this thing every couple hours and do a quick video and show you guys where we're at in terms of the battery power and where we're at in terms of the temperature inside this cooler. So, stay tuned. Okay guys, checking in. It is now 9:38 in the morning, and the temperature is now down to 31 degrees. So it took less than an hour to get it down, quite a few degrees to 31. My battery is at 82%. And you can see right now I'm only pulling 1 watt, and that's because the compressor's not running. So this is showing I've got 199 hours till this runs out. So, you know, you have to kind of take the good and the bad with this display, because it doesn't take into account when the compressor's running versus when it's not running. So it's going to fluctuate, but that's hopefully what this test is gonna dictate. So let me see what the little thermometer in here says it's at. And you can see this is right at 30, 31. So pretty accurate on that, so that's good to know. I'm gonna stick this back in here. Close that down, and we will come back out here and check this in another few hours, but so far so good. Okay everyone, so it is now 11:36 p.m. The fridge is still at 31 degrees Fahrenheit. The outside ambient temperature, if we can get this, is 75.2 degrees Fahrenheit. My battery is at 68%. And it's, again, not pulling any watts because I didn't come out here at the time that the compressor was running. But let's check to make sure that this thing's being honest with us, because it's showing around 31 degrees. So let me pop this open, which is good because it's also letting the cold air out, which is how we're going to use coolers. We're going to keep opening it and closing it to get our beers and food out. We are showing at 31 degrees pretty much. So pretty much right on the money what that's telling us. So I'm going to put this back in here. Going to let that fridge, I'm actually going to leave this open for a little bit. So this is open, and it's already up to over 45 degrees now. So I'm going to close this, and I bet you this compressor is going to kick on here pretty quick. This is real life. So guys, I brought the cooler out here to demonstrate, hey pig. So I brought the cooler out here to demonstrate, you know, we're gonna be using this cooler outside, not in the garage. So I'm gonna let this sit out here the rest of the day. I'll show you what the temperature is here after this thermometer acclimates. And then I'll bring you around here right now to show you the battery and where we're at now. So currently, this power station is at 57%. The compressor is running, so we're pulling 34 watts. The scale on this thing is showing 31 degrees. And right now, I just pulled this from, it's 78.3, but here in a few minutes, that'll be up. And let's see what the thermometer reads here. 30 degrees. So, close this back down. Latch it. 1:13 p.m. Okay folks, so this has been outside for a couple of hours now. It is 3:05 p.m. Outside temperature is 91.1. You can see we're still at 31 degrees before that gets too fogged up. Close this guy up. Give you a shot of the battery unit. 45%. Right now the compressor just kicked on because I opened up the door and it's pulling 40 watts. And at this pace, I've got 5 more hours of runtime off of this battery. So, not too shabby. You can see here we're still showing 31 degrees Fahrenheit on the unit itself, which is pretty accurate reading the thermometer from the inside. So it's maintaining a pretty steady temperature of 30 to 31 degrees. So that digital thermometer seems to be fairly accurate. So guys, I'm probably gonna let this sit outside for at least until 7 or 8 tonight is my plan, assuming that battery will run it for that long. But so far this battery's been powering this thing for 7 hours, so which isn't bad for a little 300 watt, 350 watt battery pack. So it's pretty good. And it's been maintaining temperature really well. And I can tell you, just sitting on this black top, this top's hot. And for it to maintain 31 degrees inside, that's pretty good, because most of us are going to be using this cooler out in the sun, and that means it's going to keep our beers and our food cold and fresh. Okay folks, so I got the dog out here. It is 5:30. Let me show it to you. This has been out here for, since around 1 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to show you the temperature, and then we're going to move this thing inside because we've got rain, 100% chance of rain here in the next hour. So I'm going to complete the rest of this in the garage. But my battery, let me show you the battery. Right now the compressor's running, 36 watts, got 4 hours of runtime left. Thermometer. And we are still holding 31 degrees. Which is pretty amazing. This has been out in the sun and shade, you know, for probably since 1 o'clock, so going on 5 to 6 hours out in the sun. So really impressive, guys, in my opinion. I think this overall, this little setup works pretty well. So I'm gonna move this into my garage now because I don't want it to get rained on, and we will wrap up this review here in probably just a couple hours. I'm gonna let this run a little bit more, see how far down we can get the battery, and we'll go from there, guys. See ya. So that's going to wrap it up for this little test here, guys. It's been going on for about 12 hours now, and it is 7:22 p.m. And right now, my little battery unit is at 29%. And it is 79 degrees outside. And the cooler is still running strong. We're going on, as you can still hopefully see here, 31 degrees. And I'll show you the interior thermometer here. Find it, get a shot real quick before it fogs up. Still at 30 degrees, guys. So this has been at 30 degrees since about 9 a.m. since I cut it on. And it's been outside for 5 or 6 hours today, in the direct sunlight and some shade, some clouds, but it got up to 90, so it's fairly hot and it's fairly humid here in Texas. So overall, this little cooler did very well. I think for the price point, it's, you know, it's a pretty good cooler. I can't necessarily speak for the longevity of this, but for the 2 tests that I've done, both tests, this thing has performed very well. So I have high hopes for it. Again, longevity, I don't know, but so far I'm pretty happy with it. It's maintained the temperature of 30, 31 degrees. Now I could crank this thing down to -4 and literally make popsicles with it, but I don't eat popsicles when I go camping, so I'm not going to try to do that, or keep ice cream, or you know, things like that. You can. It does go down to 4 below 0. But again, I'm not going to do that. I just need to keep my beer cold and my sandwiches, you know, fresh. So with that, guys, overall, everything worked well. The to-go power station worked well. The cooler worked well. Probably run this thing till about midnight tonight. I've got 30% left on my battery. Again, this is very subjective though, because you could actually fill this cooler up with ice and it's not going to run the compressor as much. It's going to be colder inside, therefore the compressor doesn't have to kick on to maintain the interior temperature. It's hard. It'll be easier for the compressor to keep up if there's ice in here. Depends on how many times you open and close a cooler, how many times you let all the cold air out and put hot air in it. So there's a lot of variables that go into this type of test. But from what I saw today, I can guarantee you that I could probably get up to 16 to 18 hours off of a 300 to 350 watt hour battery unit at 30 degrees on the cooler. I have no doubt that this setup would get me, let's say, close to 20 hours worth of runtime, and that's typically going to be plenty. 20 hours on a small battery is perfect. So guys, with that, I hope that gives you a better idea of how you can run some of these coolers with certain, you know, battery units. A 500 watt hour battery unit obviously is going to give you more hours of runtime on this cooler. So pick your poison on the variables that you choose. Colder, it's not going to run as long. Bigger battery, it'll run longer. And I will post links to this thing down below in the description if you guys want to go check it out. So guys, that is it for this Autoommo 12 volt 45 quart cooler. So if you guys have any questions, comments, please leave them down below. I'm trying to get this channel kind of kick-started. So with that, guys, until next time, we'll see you again. I got a couple more of these fridges to review, and we'll see you soon. Take care.